This is the second episode in our two-part series about getting unstuck. This is all about the action, how to get from stuck to unstuck. So we look at creating goals, the role that shame can play and what to do about it. We look at the steps it takes, like how do you create these goals, how timelines work, and so much more.
Let's talk about what intuition really is.
Let's look at all the places intuition and ego show up in your life.
Let's share honestly.
Let's do the research.
I'm Jamie Hayhurst.
I'm Heather Wood.
This is the Intuitive Girl's Guide.
Hey Jay,
Hey.
we're back
Yes.
talking again about getting unstuck.
Yes.
This episode is about the action-based part of
We're-
how to go about it.
We're applying
Yes.
the theories.
Where the last episode was about unpacking the stuff that is your conditioning that's going to hold you back or make it harder or any number of things.
Yeah, so if you hit this episode first, go back.
Listen to that one first and then come back
Right.
over to here. That's a better order. Maybe put a day or two between. Maybe you can just jump right in. I don't know. But do what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to start by saying stuff we said in the last episode, but just to give you like in case it was a week ago that you listened to it, a quick recap. Yeah. That when you're looking at getting unstuck, you're looking at how you want to feel. And you're looking at what things could come into your world that would help you feel those ways or feel differently than you feel now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It does not have to be about achieving this giant, huge scale thing that you build or create and become the best ever at whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be,
Yes.
but it doesn't have to be. And if you do have big lofty goals like that, that's awesome. But make sure you have some smaller, easier to achieve ones as well.
Right.
But spoiler alert, like we always say, it's about how you want to feel. It's not about just achieving a thing. And if you go for the things and don't include the feelings, you're going to get there and be disappointed. Okay. I'm going to start with a question that I ask people doing this work with them that I find to be incredibly helpful when you have that moment of going like, I feel stuck. I know I want something to like, you're just trying to determine what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the question and this is how I phrase it. I say, what do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a feeling.
Right.
Maybe it's a goal or a thing that you know.
Right.
That you want. Like maybe that's what comes up. But it could be what you don't want.
Yes.
You might only know what you don't want.
That's a great starting point.
Excellent starting point. Okay.
Yep.
And whatever is coming up first is also telling. If just what you don't want is coming up first, and you can't really think of what you do want, that's really, really telling. The place you need to start is like, what's going on with these things that are clearly fears of mine that are far more present than my desire. Yes. Start there.
So you already have the information that fear is in charge.
Yeah. Fear's got you stuck.
Right.
And again, fear's not the enemy.
No.
But if fear's running the show,
correct,
it's not going to feel good. So that's what we want to avoid.
Right.
Maybe you're like, I ask you that question and you're like me and you're sort of hyper fixated on a thing, like learning everything about it or like information smashing you about it or whatever. Right. Okay. And maybe you can't get anything else out of it. You can't even get to, I mean, for me, I probably had the feeling first and then picked one thing and got hyper focused on it, but maybe you just got hyper focused on the thing. Okay. And you haven't included the feelings in yet. That tells you something. It tells you something you need.
Yeah.
If it's just a feeling and you can't figure out what to do to accomplish it.
That would be me.
Okay, that's also telling you something. It's telling you where the fear is present and where it's not so present, where the desire is really present and where it's not, where it has a little more freedom to move around.
Yeah.
That is golden information. And like we said in the last episode, it's not so much about the destination. It's just about the fact that you start moving. Exactly. So you need to understand what feels good to move towards and what doesn't at the beginning.
Yes.
Golden information.
Sure.
It's all data.
Yep. True.
Okay. I thought I'd also tell you I'll let you into my weird witchy Sherlock Holmes psyche for a minute.
Okay.
Just a little glimpse. I don't want to scare anybody. letting them in too far to that strange place that my
Right.
brain exists. But part of my job when I do this work is to analyze the way people answer questions I give them.
Mm.
So I figured I would let you in a little bit on how I analyze the very first question I ask every single person on every single session that I've
Okay.
ever done in my life. Not because I'm trying to like show off a skill.
Well, I mean, sessions are coming back, aren't they?
Yeah.
In September. So if you love this,
Mm,
if you're like, God damn it, I need Heather to help me with this,
yeah. Maybe hit me up.
book a
But
session.
you can also just ask yourself this question.
Yep.
Because your brain has to answer. Your brain
Yes.
can't, people will be like, I don't want to ask myself the question. Yes, it's more effective if someone else is asking you the question. I fully understand that.
Right.
But maybe you can't, or you're not ready, or you're
Right.
just listening right now. And you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
start with asking yourself the question and see what your genuine answer is.
Yep.
Or think about the answers you've had in the past in situations like this.
Mhm.
And it's going to be really helpful. Or
Yeah.
sit with your friend and have them ask you.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you what it means.
What is it?
Okay. So the question is, what's going on?
Right.
Okay. So it doesn't matter what you're coming to me for,
Yep.
or it doesn't matter that you've filled something out, or maybe I already know something, or you're a returning session. You know what I'm saying? Like none of that
Yeah.
matters.
Mhm.
I'm always asking that question. And if you know me well, you know that I don't really do many things that aren't strategic.
Intentional.
Yes.
Yes.
So the data I'm going to get from how you answer that,
Mhm.
and not just the words you use, but what it feels like clearly to you to answer that question, is more valuable than anything else in the session.
I wish I could go back and view my first session with you. Oh my God, I was a completely different person.
Yeah, but
I
also
wonder
like
what my answer was.
also let's say you did 10 sessions with me and you looked back at your answer. All 10 times is going to be a little different, the way you
Yeah.
answer it, how you answer, and what it felt
Definitely.
like to answer.
Yep.
The first time I asked somebody that, and they never have been asked that, like by anybody, like maybe a therapist or whatever, it's overwhelming. You can see that.
Yes.
So I thought I'd tell you like some of the common responses and what they mean.
Okay.
Okay. So people will say something along the lines of, where do I begin? Um, the thing is, what people are doing then is kind of becoming overwhelmed because
Yes.
in their life, there's symptoms of what is going on, like where they're stuck. They don't know the root. They haven't connected all the dots together. So where do I begin? I know I'm about to hear a list of shit going wrong or that doesn't feel good in their life.
That would be me.
Okay. That's
That would be me.
perfectly,
Yeah.
There's a lot of data in that I'm really
Yeah.
excited to get if you answer that way, by the way. So like,
Yeah.
great. And there's no order of like, I wish you would answer this way or that way. It's all, again, it's just information. And what I like about doing this work is that you have to be intuitively thinking on your feet. You have to be reading this stuff quickly to be able to help someone.
Yeah.
And why we say there's no 10-step program, because
Exactly.
literally the way you answer
Every answer is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if this is the case, I know that we need to do some work in finding like the root cause and the things in common with all of these things. And like you said in the last episode, when you start to go based on desire instead of things you want to achieve or change, you realize there's like one or two feelings on all of them.
Yeah, like themes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have 10 problems.
No.
You have 2.
They're right.
They're just manifesting in all these different
Yes.
ways. Okay.
Right.
And the 2 are so closely connected that you can probably boil them down to 1 eventually. But
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So if that's you, if you imagine me or Jamie asking you that question and you're like, where do I begin? This is going on and this is going on. I want to change all these things in my life. Then do a little work on the root of all of those things. Like, how do you feel in those ways that you don't like?
Mhm.
What's not going well? And like, what would you like it to be instead? And
Yeah.
you're going to realize it's literally 2 things. Okay. That's that answer. Okay. The next one is one that when I first started doing this work was like scared me. It was like a hard one, but now I love it because it's like such an easy fix for like the person doing the work.
Right.
But I'll say, what's going on? And they'll go, I don't know. Like they sort of act like they want me to tell them, like, use your powers to tell me what's going on. Okay.
Yes.
And it's not always, I mean, I've had it given to me like that, but a lot of times it's just like, It could be from a state of panic at having to explain it to me.
Frozen.
Yes, it could be from like they literally don't know what's going on. They just somehow signed up and they don't. How did I get here? Okay, or they literally forgot everything as soon as I stared at their eyeballs and started talking to them.
Mhm.
All of that stuff happens. What is going on in this state is something called functional freeze. And so I know if somebody is in functional freeze upon my question,
Yep.
I know exactly what to do. So can you explain to the people, as someone who I've watched master her way out of functional freeze many a time, could you explain to the people what that means when I say functional freeze?
Yeah, I mean, it's like fight, flight, or freeze.
Yep.
And so it's your nervous system just basically shutting down. It's like a paralysis of your nervous system when you're scared.
Yeah.
So like when you're scared to answer these questions or to look at, doesn't, like for me, when you say that, it means that the person doesn't feel safe enough to even look at what could be wrong or what could be at play for them.
Yes.
And for me, like I've done this to you before. You're like, so tell me X, Y, and Z. And I'm like,
I don't know.
And at this point, I know, like, I don't know, but I know enough.
Yeah.
That I know it's my brain.
Yes.
Like the shutters are kind of coming down.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, we don't
functional freeze has been triggered.
Like,
yes.
So like when I'm talking to Heather, I'm just like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I can't pull the information.
Yeah.
So we both know that it doesn't feel safe enough for me to like get there. So you push me.
Yes.
Towards the right answer.
Yes.
Don't let anyone else push you if you don't feel safe with them. I feel safe with Heather, and she knows that.
Yeah.
But like, it just means that your body's trying to protect you. So you're just sort of like freezing.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also understand that like, it's not because something's going wrong in your system.
No. Oh, no.
So the same thing can happen in a different way where somebody just starts like verbal diarrhea talking.
Yep.
I think that would be more me. I would just like talk all around the thing and like maybe
that's
I'll
like
distract you with
fight,
this.
yeah,
exactly. So like that's the same fear reaction where your nervous system, and like again, it's not really logical. Your brain's like, I don't think your brain is going like, I'm not safe if Heather asked me about this. No, it's like it's just happening. So it's not a space for shame. It's a space for, again, data of going like, oh, this is what's happening to me.
Right.
Okay, interesting. There's something fear-based going on. That's okay.
Especially like if I was in a session with you, I would want to be there and I would want to know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't feel like, oh, this isn't safe for me to think about. I would just think like, oh, this is something that's like a little deeper or like a little more traumatized.
Yeah. Oh,
so
my nervous system just got pissed.
Yeah. So like I have to like push a little harder to get there.
Yes.
And then you do.
Yes. Okay. This again, when I have heard people who do this kind of work or therapists or anything will say like, I hate when that happens. I feel the opposite. I love it because I know that in order for functional freeze to have been triggered in your body, that there's a lot of knowledge you have, and I just have to unlock it from you. You already know. Right. I just have to get it to travel from your brain to your mouth.
Correct.
Okay. And there's some part of it that's not conscious. I don't mean you're like hiding it from me, but like it's just, you wouldn't have such a big fear response in your nervous system if it didn't know a big shift was about to happen.
Right. And like you and I know each other well enough that you can say to me like, okay, you need to let your intuition come forward here. Because like, you know that when I'm doing that, my ego has kind of like stepped forward as like the bodyguard. Yes. To be like, no,
we're not doing this. We're about to feel something we're not sure we're ready for.
So I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
So you can literally just say to me like, no, wait, just pull your intuition forward. And I can sort of energetically do that where I can be like, okay. And then the answers are there. Yes. Like they're just there because I can sort of, I've learned to shift my energy that way. But if you don't know that's at play, you can't do that.
Do you know what I learned is a form of functional freeze that surprised me because it's something I do? Ruminating.
Oh, I know. I saw that on TikTok and I was like, shit.
I didn't think of it that way, but that's so true. You're just keeping yourself trapped and not processing it and moving it. It's like the circle when something's loading.
Yes, this is spinning wheel of doom.
But wouldn't it be if you could just go like, oh, I'm ruminating. Let me take a breath. And just in case you don't know, that's like like obsessing over thoughts. Like it happens to me when I go to bed where I keep like replaying something or imagining a scenario or whatever.
Right. If I'm feeling triggered, like I'll just, I sit in it and like, I can't get out of it. And I've had to like learn how to stop ruminating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're in that, if you can just take a breath and go like, ooh, functional freeze just got triggered in my nervous system. Let me get myself out of it. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that in a second. But like, that's helpful. Because sometimes you just think like, why am I so moody?
Well, you're like torturing yourself.
Yeah, it's
you're
rough.
just sitting in the funk forever.
Yeah, well, I'm good at that. I'm an excellent funk sitter. Yeah, okay. So this is what I do to clients in a session, or to Jamie, but this is, you can do this to yourself. Okay.
Yes.
You just have to start asking people questions. Okay. So what happens in functional freeze is a state of overwhelm overcomes your body. Okay. So when that happens, you can't get anything out of somebody's brain because they just can't get to the place of processing all of that information. Okay. So asking specific questions, asking things that seem unimportant to maybe somebody else, but that you know is going to lead someone in. One of the things that I love to do is ask these like outside skirty questions. And then like somebody all of a sudden realizes what I just did. Like, do you know that feeling? Okay. Yes. So it's like, oh, so tell me about this. And they start to talk about it. And then I shift over and they realize that they feel the same
way.
They're answering the same way. And they're like, what wizardry is this? It's not wizardry. It's just understanding functional freeze. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So ask yourself questions. Now I'm going to tell you something that I do when someone's really, really stuck that works 100% of the time.
Okay.
Now, some people who do this kind of work are going to think that this is crazy that I do this.
Oh.
Because if you're of the belief, maybe this is too strong a statement. You tell me what you think. Okay. If you're of the belief that like you do like a session with somebody else, the person conducting the session, so me being the coach or whatever in the session, I should be showing off how smart I am and my skills, then you're not going to like this.
Okay.
I don't believe that. I believe that you should go into a session, therapy, life coaching, whatever work you're doing, Reiki, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you should feel like the rock star of the session because you are.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just like the mediator. I'm just like handing you some tools.
Yes. It's not about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We feel that way, Jamie.
Yeah.
But one of the things we get a lot of criticism from people in the industry who don't like some of the things we say is that we're against that. We don't like that. That feels
because they're making it about them.
I know. It shouldn't be about them.
Someone's paying you to do a session with them for whatever it is. Why should it ever be about you? Even if it's like a medium. Even like say Maureen Hancock, who's like an incredible like medium, but also like she's sort of like a show person. Like
she's funny, she's comedic. Yeah.
I even then wouldn't say it was about her.
No.
She's always making it about the person, like the audience.
100%.
It should stop it.
You can be awesome.
Yes.
But it's sort of that saying where it's like
Heather show.
No, but it's like if you're good at something, like you'll know. But like if you're great at something, other people will tell you. Like if you're good at something, you'll tell yourself, "I'm good at this." But if you're great at something, other people will tell you you're great.
Yes.
If you leave the session feeling differently and less stuck and having more clarity than you did before the session, then I contributed to you the way that I intended. But if you leave the session thinking that the only way you can change your life or your world or your situation is by talking to me, then I failed.
Agreed.
But that's not a great money-making scheme, I suppose.
True. Well, I guess it depends on why you're in the game then. To help people or to make money.
We have an ex-friend that one of the reasons they're our ex-friend is because that was their game.
Yes. Yep. And my therapist.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll leave the session and be like, that was incredible. And then be like, she didn't really say much.
She just really did a good job creating a container for me to do the work.
Yes. And she led me. She asked the right questions at the right time and led me through the process and let it be about me.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Agreed. 100%. So, okay. So depending on what side of that you fall on, you're going to have an opinion about this.
Right.
But one of the things I do to someone in functional freeze, and you can use this trick to anyone in just about any situation, is it has to do with understanding how the brain works. And how the brain works is that it really doesn't like something that's wrong. It's really hard for it not to correct a wrong statement. Okay?
That's true.
So if I know you're stuck, I will say to you, do you think it could be this, when I know it's not? Because your brain will answer with what it is.
Wow.
Every time. So let's say someone's like, I think that, they're talking about wanting to do a different job, like leave their job and go do a different job, for example. Okay, first of all, the way you phrase, for me, the story of that, I already know what you want.
Yes.
It's really easy. If you know the order in which people say things tells you a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's happened. I also read body language. I've already gathered the clues, but I don't think like, oh, I know for sure. I think like, this is my hypothesis.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to float the opposite hypothesis to you if you're having trouble seeing it. Mm-hmm. So I know you want to leave your job and go do this other job, but you're afraid for all these reasons, but you can't, you're so stuck. You can't see that and admit that. Even though I'm not saying you have to leave your job. You can't even say, I want to leave my job.
Right.
I'm going to say, do you think maybe you just need to stay at the job you're at? Guess what? Your brain's going to go, nope. Easy. I know it sounds simple, but like it helps you get out of that freeze state. And you can do it to yourself.
Right.
How many times have you been between two things and gone like, okay, I'm going to do this. And immediately it felt wrong. And no, I got to do the other one.
Yeah, that's like when they say you flip a coin and then while it's in the
instantly
air,
what you're wanting. It's exactly right, because your brain doesn't like that.
Right.
If you're trying to get someone to spill a secret or tell you something, just say the thing really close to being right, but a little wrong, and they'll correct it before they even catch themselves.
Tricky.
Pro tip.
Love it.
Yeah. It's a little diabolical. But again, people don't like it because it makes it look like, I guess it could make it look like I think the wrong thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I got it wrong.
You wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, you don't care about that.
I couldn't care less about that.
No.
I mean,
and also if you're paying any sort of attention, you're going to be like, oh, I see what you did there.
I think a lot of people are on to most of my tricks when I'm doing them.
Just trusting you to do it.
I think that's why they're coming to me, is because they know I have the tricks. Okay. But again, if you're in, especially if you're in the intuitive element of the world, it's almost like there's this pressure to like do otherworldly things all the time. And it's kind of like,
that's also why people don't like you though. No offense.
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. This is why people are going to like what I'm saying.
When someone knows that, they're going to be like, oh, she knows me too well. Like she understands what I'm doing. Yeah. She's on to me.
Oh yeah.
So people who are trying to
trick,
manipulate and trick and scheme, they don't like you.
But not even,
you're onto it.
Well, you have the same problem, by the way, but not even trick or manipulate. Just tell them the truth, or not even tell it. Just reflect it back at them somehow.
Yes.
Sometimes people really hate that.
Yes.
But people in the industry don't like me because I'm like, that's not intuition.
Exactly.
Intuition is not ever telling someone what they should feel or think. Exactly. If that's what you're doing, that's not intuitive.
No, it's not.
It's helping them feel and think something.
Yeah, it's not intuitive for you or for the client.
Oh, no.
No.
No. Ew. No. Don't do that. Okay. I have one more of my responses that I think will help you. But again, tell yourself a wrong truth and see
how it feels.
Or tell yourself one of the options and then tell yourself the other one.
Yeah.
Say it out loud because your brain's going to hate it. Okay. The other thing I get a lot is a very rehearsed response. Like I can tell they maybe wrote it down.
Oh, before they got there.
Yeah. But it's also usually very much what they think I want to hear.
Oh.
Or it's very much painting a certain picture of them in a certain light.
Yep.
Okay. This happens more than you think. And I don't think the majority of people who do this are like, I'm going to make her think this about me. I really think it's a response to being afraid of being rejected.
Yeah, no, I think it's like a self-management or like a self-editing. Like you're trying to present in a certain way. I don't think they're trying to like scam you.
No, I don't think any of these responses are trying to scam me.
No, I think you're just trying to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't want anyone to feel shame about going like, I do that. Yeah, that's great. So does everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Okay. This is the one that I would be more guilty towards because it's the people who like control. Like, let me control the vulnerability I'm about to give you or the way you see me. It's a rejection person thing.
Right.
Okay. Like, yeah. Listen, as soon as you do this, I'm like, oh, we're a lot alike. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Exactly.
But the thing that's here is rejection, sensitivity, and shame are like right in the front of whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's not just right in the front of your response to me. It's right in the front of why you're stuck.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Okay. So that answer has already told me that we need to talk about that I quickly need to help you feel accepted.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've had people that said to me, that first session that we had, when you spent, like, after having a few sessions, you spent all that time talking about the things we had in common. Was that because of the rejection thing you're talking about now? And I was like, yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Like, I don't tell you about myself because I think it should.
You like talking about yourself.
No,
right.
As you know, quite the opposite, right? So like it's all strategic is my point. So like the way you answer tells me something, but it can also tell you something if you know what to look for.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing, before you even start mapping your grand plans, you have to have knowledge of your human desires and universal fears. We have many episodes on those. Go listen to them if you have not.
There's a ton of them.
Okay. But you need to know your top 2 desires and your top fear, because if you're not taking them into consideration whilst creating and going towards things in your life, you're going to, it's like doing it without like all the tools you already have.
Yes.
It's like, let me go, I'm trying to think of an example. Let me go build a fort but leave the hammer and nails over there.
Right.
What? Yeah. They're right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to know that.
So why would you do it without them?
Mm-hmm.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what that is. So do that. Listen to those episodes if you need to. You can also Google them. Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing that I want you to look at is your shame statements. There's a lot of them. Okay. The majority of them start with should or how you're not good at something. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example that people will say when we talk about like a goal a lot. They'll go, I'm so bad at sticking to a routine. Yeah. Some people feel that way. That's a shame-based statement. Yeah. Okay. Now you might be going like, but Heather, I am bad at sticking to a routine. Mm-hmm. Okay. But remember when we talked in the last episode about the frequency of shame? Right. You just gathered it in your body. And I'm not saying you're going to like perfectly speak to yourself all the time. You just want to catch what you repeat.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So you could change that to say, I operate best with less structure and more spontaneity. Okay. So when you're going to create, instead of going into like mapping out how you're going to go for something or how you're going to make a change, instead of going like, well, I'm really bad at sticking to a routine, you're going to go, okay, I operate best with less structure and more spontaneity. Right. So you're going to create an environment for that instead of going like, this is where I'm going to fail.
I suck here. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, there really shouldn't be shame to that.
It also doesn't actually give you an answer. Like if you're just saying, you're saying like, I suck at routine.
Yeah.
Okay. And now what?
Right. What are you doing with that?
You're just going to keep sucking at it? Like,
or you're going to try to jam yourself into a routine that in the 10-step program told you to do that's not right for you.
Right. So if you use the other statement, like I work better with spontaneity.
Yeah.
That gives you room to move and it gives you a plan to move forward. Yes. Okay. So I'll move away from routine and I'll move towards spontaneity. And And then you actually have like some action steps. You're not just like sitting in the suck of, I suck at this.
Or overcoming something that's unnecessary to overcome. Every time, that's a waste of your energy.
Exactly.
Okay. So the thing is, like, everyone operates differently. Some people are like me and they operate better with more structure. Mm-hmm. Some people are like you and they operate better with less structure.
Correct.
Just knowing that about yourself is great.
Huge.
And then just making sure you're not shaming yourself for that is also great.
Right, and that's part of the human desires also.
Exactly. Certainty and variety, people. Right. Which one is your main one? That's going to tell you a lot. And also along the way, not shaming yourself. So even as somebody who structure works really well for me, sometimes I'll structure in like between these hours, I'm going to write.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit down and I'll be like, nope.
Yes.
Because you can't just be I don't have the ability to like hit a switch and become creative.
Correct.
I'm just going to force something out of myself that's not great. Right. So I'll try a few things to see if I can conjure it up. If I can't, we got to move on. Okay. Right. Yep. But if I then shamed myself for that, that's not going to help me.
Right.
It's going like, oh, this isn't the right time. What else do I have? Let me allow spontaneity. Right. And the same thing is true for people whose structure is harder for. Like if you had this structure and you were trying to do it and you're like, this is so hard. I don't feel motivated to do it. Like the same thing would happen because you weren't honoring that. Exactly. And even if you were like, I'm just going to create a lot of spontaneity, it's like, well, where should the structure be allowed? Right? Maybe it's a list for the whole month of what you're going to do. And you just, whenever you feel like it, look at the list and knock something out.
Right.
Perfect. Cool. You know what I mean? Like what works for you, and then not shaming yourself for whatever that is.
Yeah. Or just doing things like as you need to, like again, my therapist, hey, so like in therapy, I'll get homework.
Yeah.
And I do it like 2 hours before the session.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't care or know or like, but before I would have shamed myself about that.
Right. Or maybe you never got it done and you come into the session instead of just being full of shame. I mean, you're going to feel it probably. Be like, I had trouble getting that done this week.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Right. Also data.
Exactly.
So again, just catch that kind of stuff. Yep. Try not to bring a lot of shame statements into what you're doing. Try to reform them if you can. They're going to come.
Yeah. Just yes.
Do some rewriting.
They'll always be there.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about creating goals real quick because this is something that the 10-step programs really bother me about.
Okay.
Like it's really crazy. So I want to take a break, but I just want to set it up really quick for you. But goals should have permission to be fluid.
Yes.
And almost every single thing I ever see about creating goals or going for your goals or what are you after acts as if they should be so rigid.
Yep.
They should be so fluid. I don't care if you write the most specific statement I've ever read. As long as you have permission to be fluid, you'll be fine. That's okay.
Yeah, but you're also the goal, the correct goal is actually based on a feeling.
Exactly.
Which allows for fluidity.
Well, yeah, because desire isn't rigid.
No.
Desire is, first of all, only ever in the present moment. Okay? It can exist in multiple present moments, but you can't guess what you're going to desire tomorrow. You can make like an educated guess, I guess, but like you're not going to get it right.
Right.
It could be different.
Yes.
How many times have you desired something? This is what I want to do for dinner, and then gotten to dinner and been like, who was this person who desired this? Because this is not what I want.
Correct.
All the time. That happens. So it's a misunderstanding of desire. And if you're not using desire when creating goals, you're going to be working really hard because it's hard to make changes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's hard to do the work. It's hard to put in the time. It's hard to deal with shame all the time. Oh my God, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you're going to do that without the result you want.
Exactly.
Without the reward if you're not keeping desire there. So there should be a lot of fluidity to what you're creating. So think about that for a second. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back with more how to create a goal. You know what goes great with podcast listening?
A great cup of coffee from a great coffee shop.
Yep. Beans roasted in-house, amazing baristas. You know where I'm talking about.
Restoration Coffee. Can we go?
Yes, I need an Americano and maybe a panini too.
Ooh, I need blueberry maple latte and probably a resto bowl.
Ooh, yeah. Check them out and visit restoration-coffee.com.
Let's talk about what we're obsessed with this week. All right, Heather. So this is, I don't know, you're not obsessed with this.
Oh God. Okay.
But I've been obsessed this summer, particularly with psychopaths.
Yes. I think in general, I am obsessed with all kinds of human behavior. So I do.
So I can drag you along some of the roads.
But I'm way more squeamish than you. And like, I have a lot more trouble disconnecting from those kinds of things. So there's like a threshold of psychopath things that like you can watch that's above me.
So there's this show that you have not watched and I told you not to watch it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even actually going to bring this up.
Okay.
But there's this show I watched all 8 seasons, which
God.
I'm not even like a big TV watcher.
You're not, no.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
But I think it's on Max, I think. It's called Science of a Psychopath.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. It's so good, but it's so graphic. Like I wouldn't watch it in front of my kids who are like, one's an adult, one's 18.
Yeah.
And one's 15.
Right.
And I like wouldn't watch it in front of them because it was like so dark.
Yeah.
But it's about like everyone has an interview with the psychopath. It's not just like a story about it.
Right.
You actually hear them in their interrogation videos or whatever. It's so compelling.
Mm.
And then I did drag you down the Scott Peterson.
Well, you know what I was going to say is
path.
Very entertaining to me. And it speaks to what we talked about in the last episode about like knowing and honoring your limits.
Yes. In the last episode, you might be in such a tough
is that I can watch a documentary where people are screwing up and come out unscathed.
Yes.
You cannot. You have to take breaks.
Yes.
Okay. You can watch something about like the darkest, most gruesome human behavior on earth and come out unscathed. And I cannot. And I just think it's about like knowing, like honoring, like everyone's got a thing that they can't shake.
Watch.
And that's fine.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but the Scott Peterson one is the one that I'm referencing of like people screwing up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
You're going to say something about the police.
Yes. Every single crime documentary that you watch about psychopaths, serial killers, domestic violence, anything that you watch,
every Crime Junkies episode,
everyone, it literally just serves to illustrate like how terrible like the structure of policing is in this country.
Yes.
Not only that it was founded on white supremacy and like the slave movement, but like it's awful.
Even the people doing their best work are up against like doing it, trying their very hardest. The system in which they're working makes no sense.
Trash.
It's garbage.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a listener who commented just recently about the show on Netflix. It was like Worst Ex Ever.
Oh yeah. We'll be watching and doing
I watched it all already.
I haven't watched any of it yet.
It's so good.
It'll be a little while.
It's really good. It's really compelling.
Yeah.
But like again, that series in particular shows how awful policing is and how awful even like cops who are really trying, detectives who they think they're really trying, how badly they fumble and how susceptible they are to human behavior and like these sort of like intrinsic biases that people have. They don't get it, they don't see it, and how they're like they can like destroy someone's life because they think they know the answer as to what happened on a crime scene. Yeah. And they don't.
From the human behavior aspect of it, one of the things I see in every single one of these too is like somebody has a reaction. I'm thinking of Amanda Knox as my example for this, that is outside of what people would consider like typical.
Yes.
If you can have a typical response in trauma, but like, or maybe what's expected. And American Nightmare is a good example of this too.
Yes.
I didn't think he was behaving correctly. I didn't think she had the right response to this situation. And because there's not a training in human behavior, they think that means this person's guilty.
Yeah. And you know who it is on most of these shows that like the cops that come in and save the day
is a woman.
It's the woman.
Always.
Even that Worst Ex Ever, there was one woman. No, there's two actually in two different episodes. And the two that were like, something was wrong here. I knew that this person wasn't guilty. I knew that they were being whatever. It was the woman because they're naturally like allowed to be more intuitive. You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's the biases of like if people imagine that you could just look at someone's reaction and think like, I know that. Like I'm thinking of even like our judicial system. Like there's been experiments where like if you see like the whole court proceeding is like, well, in order to make a decision about if this person should be jailed or if they did it or not did it, I need to look at them reacting to things being said to them and make a decision, is proven to be wrong. Like we do better when we don't look at the person.
Right.
Because it's easier to use intuition and not expectation of behavior, right?
Yes.
But I feel like in every single one of these, you see that occurring and we just have it so wrong.
Yeah. And you can see like, oh, like in some of these episodes, you're like, oh, the victim was a Black woman. Oh, she was an Indian woman. So no one's listening to her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So the cops aren't listening. And
I mean, Lacey Peterson was a very beautiful white woman.
And she had a ton of attention and a ton of help because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this has been my summer of psychopaths.
Summer of psychopaths. So instead of hot girl summer.
And Scott Peterson was fully a psychopath. I mean, you like, I didn't, when that happened, I think I was a new mother. I think I was like fully in like
same
motherhood and like entrenched in that.
Yeah.
And that case was pretty new to me watching this. And I was like, oh, this guy's a fucking psychopath. He doesn't give a shit about anybody.
And you know, that's interesting too, because instead of actually building a defense, like in finding evidence, or not a defense, but like the prosecution going after them, they just were like, he's creepy. Yeah. So it almost like worked like the opposite way of like, well, okay, but like obviously he did it. Look at his behavior. And it's like, you can't base it on that. You have to actually base it on other things. Right. But yes, can you, if you understand that like the psychology of somebody never saying they didn't do it, just always saying like, why would I do that? That's somebody who's guilty. Like why are we not looking more at that?
Exactly.
Why is that not evidence?
Why is that not part of police training?
Exactly. Okay. Well, go watch all those documentaries and tell us what you think.
And keep sending them our way because I didn't know about that. Worst ex ever. That was a good one.
And if you're going to send us the messages about, my cousin is an amazing police officer, we know.
Yes.
But the structure is very, very broken. And I bet that cousin would agree with us.
Yes, exactly. And the cousin should be speaking up for change.
Yes.
In that structure. Like you can't just be the one good cop in the department. You can't just be the one good guy. You have to try to affect change through the whole system.
I'm sick of the story of the rare whistleblower. Yes. We should all be whistleblowing. You should be the rare dummy over there that's just allowing everything to stay the same.
And for all,
every field,
but
all life
of all of them, policing, you should have everyone there should be a whistleblower. Everyone there should be trying to like serve justice. That's literally your thing.
That's your thing, man.
Thanks.
I just really like that instead of hot girl summer, you had psychopath summer.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't really love summer anyway, so it's fitting to me that you watch stuff about documentaries. Okay. All right, let's get back to talking about creating goals. I would like you to take a breath before I start telling you these, because if you've taken other courses, you're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Just try it this way and see how it goes, is all I'm saying, because I think it works better. Okay. But again, you should be going, how do I take this and make it work for me? Not going, there's one way to do everything. None of this is one way to do anything,
and if this doesn't work for you, cool.
But also like, I understand why you want the 10-step program. I understand why you want me to tell you that it's exactly like this, or to drink a potion and you get it. Like, I get it. I want that too, but it is just not how it works.
It will just be so much easier and faster.
It would be. I'm with you on that, but I'm sorry to say it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
Okay. Where you have to start when you're creating any kind of goals, and again, you can use a different word, manifesting, whatever, fill it in.
Right.
Words that work for you is fine. I'm comfortable with the word goals, but some people feel a little triggered with that. I get that. Use a different one then.
Resolutions.
Resolution.
We don't like those.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So first you get to start with, how do you want to feel? All right.
Always.
And if you're having trouble answering that, that's fine. Just continue to revisit that, because you're not really going to make any traction with change until you can have an idea of that.
That's true.
And again, it has to be fluid.
Mm-hmm.
You might be like, you know how I want to feel is I just want to feel some mother effing peace. And then you get a little peace and you're like, now I want revenge. Like, whatever. Exactly. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of it.
Yeah. Or you, like we said in the last episode, you might be in such a tough spot that like, you just want your nervous system to be able to calm down. You just want to be able, like, gauge it for wherever you are in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Okay. And I should also say, this is a great order to start with, asking yourself these questions and see what's going on. But if you end up changing I know the second question you're about to ask, that's easier for me than the first one. Cool. Then go there and then revisit. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. Is
what my point is. Okay.
Yep.
Your feelings need to be like top priority, but there's no shame in having trouble figuring that out. Okay. How do you want that to look? So this is how I want to feel. How do you want that to look? This is the thing. This is you going, I want it to look like a new job, or I want it to look like building a fort or making a garden or having
living
a relationship.
in Australia.
Yeah. Going on a loan. Not us, but some people, right? Like,
right.
Whatever the thing is, maybe you just go, I want to have more time to watch crime documentaries.
Yes.
Fucking
study
awesome.
Psychopaths.
Yeah. Oh, great. This is important, but like the least important part of it.
Right.
So again, it's got to be fluid because you're going to set out doing it and you're going to get taken way over here from it. It's just about the movement. As long as you're really aware that whatever plan or like how or thing that you're going to, like, keep like a little bit of a loose attachment to it because it's just to propel you forward. It isn't the thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Maybe you do that thing and you're like, this is great. I'm going to keep doing this thing. Cool. But maybe that's not what happens.
Exactly.
That's fine. Okay. How do you want to feel as you move towards the thing? And how do you not want to feel when you move towards the thing?
Okay.
Now, this does not mean that as you go towards your goals, you should have no uncomfortable feelings.
Oh no, there will be discomfort.
There'll be a lot of that. But this is why this is important. If your goal is to feel more financially secure so that you can have more fun experiences with your family, and the way you've decided to get there is to work a lot of hours at a really hard thing, and you realize that you feel less free as you do it and you feel less connected from your family, then it's just a thing to know.
Yep.
And to go, oh, I think I might need to change course here. This isn't working. Or I need to make some adjustment to this because I'm not in the place of feelings that I want to be. Or it's going like, well, this is just temporary for another 2 weeks. So I just need to have ways to support myself through that. Like, it's just about being aware of how you feel.
Right. And thinking about that. Like when in that specific example, the next question should probably be like, well, why do I feel like I have to get there by doing all of this work and not seeing my family? And then you're going to realize, well, that's what I was told I have to do. And that's what everyone else in this country does. Right. And like, you start to realize why you think these things. Like you're thinking all these thoughts that you don't realize they've been sort of pre-programmed into you.
Yes.
And once you realize like, oh, wait, I guess that's what I've been told I have to do. Is that true? Like, maybe I can get there a different way.
Yeah. And being okay with that.
Right.
Like, it's okay to go
judgment.
Start a job and try it and go like, I've given this like a fair chance. Like I've given it past the place where doing something new is hard no matter what.
Yes.
And I really don't feel the way I want to. Like, I don't desire this feeling. It's okay to go like, nope, and change course. Like, it's okay to give yourself permission. It's also okay to struggle with that. But that's my point, is that if you're disconnected from that, you're kind of missing the whole point.
Yeah.
I'd also like to, we acknowledged this at the end of the other episode, but I would just like to mention it here because I can like hear it in my own head, which is like, it takes a lot of privilege to have the ability to change course.
Correct.
So honoring that too, and knowing like that's not the case for everybody.
Sometimes you can't get out of where you are.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay. So how do you want to feel as you go towards this? How don't you want to feel? And not in a judgment, and not as like, I'm not feeling the ways I want to feel, I have to immediately stop.
Right.
Or I'm doing something wrong. Right. None of that's true. It's just data that you can go, oh, can I adjust this or not? Or what's going on? All right. That's important.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling miserable the whole way towards something you want, it's not going to work.
No, that's not good energy.
You're not going to manifest the right stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then lastly, what's your plan? What's your plan?
Right.
Do you have a time frame? Do you have like what ideas do you have of how this should go or what this should be? And this should be fluid, just like all of it should be fluid.
I was just going to say, like, if you have that voice in your head that's like, that's sort of self-scolding and self-critical, like, you should be able to make this plan and then adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
Like, you're not writing it in stone.
Yeah.
You're not making this like forever commitment to this plan. It's just a way to like get things a little structured and get moving.
Yeah. You know, I think some of the most valuable things that I've ever achieved in my life were stepping stones on the way to something I thought I wanted.
It's a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, on my way to this, I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try this and it doesn't work. But like, it gave me some sort of data or information. I 100% needed to know what I needed to know to do the thing.
Yep.
So
definitely,
it's so important to allow that to be fluid. There might be a goal you have that you thought you'd get in a year, and you get to the year and you're not close to it and it feels miserable. I understand that. You can honor that, but adjust, be fluid. Like, what did you get? What do you know? Like, that's important. And it's just about reassessing at that point. It's not about giving up or failing.
Well, right, because if you only use that one goal that you set for the year and you're only looking at that, then it's all going to look like a failure.
Yeah.
But if you're open to, well, what did I learn along the way? What else has changed in my life? I may not have hit this goal, but what else has changed? If you start actually looking around you, you might realize that there's a lot different.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of growth.
Yeah.
And that like that one goal, actually, you don't care so much about it anymore.
Yeah. Or maybe you care even more about it.
Right.
So it's about going, what do I need to adjust to like really amp this up?
Right.
All of that is really great information.
Right.
The timeline should never be, like in particular, the timeline should never be this like place for shame. You know what I mean? It should be like just the right amount of structure for you to manifest it, because you're always in a state of balance, right? So like, you don't want to be too strict with timelines, because then you're going to like lose the desire piece of it. It's not going to be in the forefront, because you're going to feel so like fearful of getting to this timeline that it's going to alter everything for you. Right.
Yeah.
But you also can't be so loosey goosey that you don't have any, like, whenever it happens, it happens.
Right.
That's also not going to help you manifest it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have some sort of balance, and it's not the same balance for everyone, which is why I can't give you the exact thing to do. You have to find your balance. Like for me, I would rather have an aggressive timeline that I move back. That works better for my system. I have a feeling that the opposite is true for you, that you'd rather have a looser timeline that you come in ahead of.
Yes.
Whatever that is for you is the right thing for you to do.
Yep.
And it's not the same for everyone, and it's not the same for every kind of goal.
Right. And not to sort of sound like a broken record, but thinking of timelines like that, like as being super rigid, that's a capitalistic construct.
Yes.
And that's something that's used to keep workers in line and to keep production up and to keep money moving into the hands of the owners.
Yeah.
But if you maybe think about timelines more in the sense of like what your pagan ancestors were doing.
Yes.
Right. Like whoever they are, wherever they lived in the world.
Yes.
They all had timelines.
Yeah.
That were probably built more around seasons. That were built around like growing food. Like
and an understanding of how it all works.
Right. And being like, well, this timeline exists because the weather's going to change or whatever's going to happen. Right. So like, I think the intent behind the timeline is important.
I 100% agree, especially self-imposed timelines.
Correct. Like if you're using them to beat yourself with them, they're useless.
And you're triggering. You think that your self-worth will feel better. Like you'll feel more worthy if you beat a time.
Right.
Or you get it in a time. And if you're trying to prove self-worth to yourself, you're spending a lot of time trying to prove something that's not real.
Exactly.
We have episodes on that if you'd like to listen. There's no worthy of what is my question.
It's true.
Not you're just automatically are worthy, or you automatically aren't, whichever school of thought you'd like to go for. You're just trying shit out here.
Right.
You're just here. No one earned it from good behavior.
No, exactly.
Despite what religion might claim. But the thing is, like, if you get stuck there, it's not good. But you also can't get stuck in not creating structure for yourself.
Right.
And you also can't get stuck in creating structure for yourself in a way that's not the right way for you.
Yep.
That makes no sense. And again, like you're saying, like, think about why you're putting structure there.
Right.
It's not to shame yourself.
Yes.
It's not to feel terrible or great when you do something in a certain amount of time. It's to help manifest and pull in what you need.
Right.
And a lot of it is pulling in support and information and means.
Yep.
So that's why the timelines are there. Think about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I really think this is, a lot of people aren't going to like this. You'll like this, but a lot of people aren't going to like this. or people are going to find it uncomfortable. But I think the best tool in achieving goals is just like constantly monitoring your plans.
Yes.
Meaning, how do I feel all the time?
Yeah.
And being really aware of it, good, bad, or otherwise.
Hard.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, nobody likes it. I'm sorry,
No.
but like monitoring it, being aware, and like taking that awareness and just like applying a little bit of like logic to it. Mm-hmm. That's how you achieve anything. And
if you start paying attention, mm-hmm. your brain is going to start doing it subconsciously.
Yes.
Like if you start if you're like tracking like, oh, I don't feel good right now, do no more.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Just say, I don't feel good doing this, or I really like this, or this feels weird, I don't get this. Just making those observations, your brain is going to start tracking it and sensing the pattern of what's going on.
Yeah.
Even if you're not aware of it.
Even if all you do is ask yourself the question, oh, what do I need?
Right.
Oh, I just feel a way I don't want to feel. What do I need?
Right.
Again, your brain has to answer every question. Why is the sky blue? You don't know it. Your brain just made up
an answer,
a hypothesis,
right.
and said it because it can't have dead space, right?
Correct.
You might not want to tell me out loud the thing that it was, right? But like it just does that.
Right.
So what do I need? Just ask.
And your brain's going to have data.
Yeah, and then you're going to automatically.
Right.
Yes, and you know right. somewhere in your system what you need, because that's desire. It's just triggering it to come to the front of your conscious mind.
Yeah.
That can be the challenge. So in the same thing of what you're saying, like just how becoming aware of your feelings becomes like an autopilot, mm-hmm. asking yourself, oh, what do I need? That automatically, when you start to feel the way you don't want to feel, automatically you start thinking, "Ooh, let me get myself something I need."
Right. Or like why do I feel like this? Like if you feel yucky about something, or like, why do I feel like this? Your brain's then going to have all the information of like, oh, well, you felt like this then, and then, and then, and then you're going to be like, oh, and these are like millisecond. You're not really thinking these thoughts. Your brain's just processing it, and you're going to be like, oh, I felt this way at these other points when X was a factor, like mm-hmm. this thing was a factor.
Yes.
And then you're going to realize like, oh, I feel shitty right now because of X, Y, and Z.
And your answers like that you're talking about may end up being something you think is weird. Like, why am I saying this? I don't think that. Mm. Why am I answering with this feeling? Why am I afraid of this all of a sudden? Exactly. That's not logical.
Right.
That's still the golden information. You might have to return to it later, but boiling that down to the root of what's going on is always the answer. Your brain will tell you. It might not be that like root bottom of the iceberg answer, but it will lead you there if you keep asking.
Exactly.
Yeah. When it feels okay to. You don't have to excavate everything in the moment.
No, right in the middle of some moment where you're feeling triggered or panicked. No, don't dig it up there. But keep collecting the data, so when you do feel safe enough to dig into it, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we should get shirts that say it's all data.
It's all data. I mean, that's one of the most autistic phrases I've ever heard. So I should definitely have that on a shirt.
Yeah. It's all data. Mm-hmm. And not really what you think intuitive girls would say, but it's true.
It's very true.
The same.
But here's the thing. This is always my argument when people will say stuff to me like that, when I'm talking about how
tangent.
Yeah, but like, oh, you study body language, isn't that the opposite of intuition? Or do you understand human behavior, isn't that the opposite of intuition? The thing is, like, if you're naturally designed for intuition to be like the overriding thing in your body, which is me, I feel it, and we feel an emotion to everything. Right. I feel a desire or a dislike to everything. And you can call that whatever you would like to call it, but I don't have to try that.
No.
So if I create some reason and structure and data around it, now I can use it.
Right. You can make sense.
I don't need to create the data.
Correct.
I don't need to create the intuitive pathways. I need to do something with the information.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Tangent.
Love
Sorry.
it.
Okay. I'm going to say something really cheesy.
Yes.
And you're going to like it, but find it cheesy. So I'm sorry, but some of this stuff is just cheesy.
Okay.
Real growth. Like if you actually want to change anything, your ability to do something, your emotional bandwidth for things, your shame responses, your fear responses, anything, it is about these little tiny changes.
Yes.
And this is the whole thing. It's getting a little bit more comfortable being a little more uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it's just a scooting. It's like
yes.
it isn't a giant leap. Yep. It's like a baby step. Okay, now I'm a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable right here. Mm-hmm. Okay, breathe, breathe, breathe. I'll stick there. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to take one more step, and I'm a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable right here.
That is literally the journey.
That's everything.
And I don't think that's corny. I think that is literally the opposite of what people want to hear.
I know.
People want to hear that there's like a fast fix. There's a lottery win.
Yeah.
There's a potion you can drink. Like all that stuff. It's because people just want to get to the end goal. And sometimes you're just so desperate.
Yeah.
Like you're so like down on your luck or down and out or whatever, wherever you are in your world, mm-hmm. like that you just need to get better, faster.
Yeah.
I get it. I've been there. Truly, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I can think of a lot of people who fell in that trap.
Yeah.
Of just wanting the quick fix.
Yeah.
And so it's really frustrating.
It really is.
When you're in a tough spot to hear that it has to be like a step-by-step journey, slowly but mm-hmm. surely, like mm-hmm. the rabbit and the hare. I mean, mm-hmm. the turtle, tortoise and the whatever.
Yeah.
Tortoise and the hare. Yeah. Like you don't like when you're in a tough spot, you don't want to hear that. You don't want to feel right. shitty anymore.
Yes.
You know, so it sucks to hear it. So I'm sorry if that feels like frustrating and it feels like a blow. I get it.
Yeah.
But it actually is like the only way out is through. Another corny saying.
Yep.
100% dead on.
Yep.
It's like the only way out is through. It's through these little baby steps of, I love like the feeling comfortable, feeling uncomfortable. That's like
yes.
perfectly summarizes.
Well, because don't you think that we're kind of misled mm-hmm. into believing that the thing that makes people great mm-hmm. is that they just were not uncomfortable doing right. the thing.
They're just naturally good at something, or they sort of ran through the wall of it, right?
Yeah.
Like they beat fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that maybe the reason that you are struggling with something is because you're just not good at that thing.
Right. Yep.
And where I do believe there's a natural spectrum for just about everything. Agreed. I mean, I've yet to find something I didn't think was a spectrum of something. True. But I'm going to put talent on there as well. Mm. I mean, I'm never going to be like Michael Phelps swimmer. Do you know what I'm saying?
Probably not.
But could I become a good swimmer if I wanted to?
Yes.
I sure could. But like, right. So I'm saying like, I recognize.
Yeah.
Okay. But you sort of take that concept then, like the people who do great things are like otherworldly and we don't make them human. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And we sort of think like, oh, let me apply that to myself. And I'm going to give you an example of something personal to me that does not, probably for a lot of people, it doesn't sound like a hard thing or like, oh, can't you just do that? Mm-hmm. And that is like putting myself in situations where I don't know anybody mm-hmm. and like going out and like trying to make friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and I feel the same way about that, but that to me is a little bit difficult. That to me is a lot difficult. I can do it, but I don't always feel good doing it. A lot of times I feel like I'm performing a version of myself to not be rejected by a group of people because I'm like trying to monitor how much of my own weirdness and otherness is going to come through.
Yep.
Okay. It has nothing to do with the people around me. You could change them out. You could just cast a bunch of different characters. Every time I did it would be the same thing.
Correct.
Okay. If I was to just say, because I've thought this before, and I think I've even said it aloud, I wish I could just be more comfortable going up and talking to people and meeting people. I wish like that person or like that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Which again, there is a truth to that's easier for some people based on your programming, based on your traumas, based on your limiting beliefs about yourself, based on all of it. Okay. But if I just go like, all right, I'm going to go into that crowd of people today. And I'm going to be as outgoing as that person. I'm going to be great. I'm not going to care at all about what people think of me. Fail. And just stamp me on the head with a fail. That's not going to work. Okay.
I have to do what I did and get friends who are really good at it. And then I just stand beside them.
I mean, that's one way. I'm not sure you're actually doing it, Jamie, but it's a good life hack. But here's what I started doing that actually works. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be just a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable or being myself.
Right.
Not going to go in and be like, hey, everyone, here's the ways that I'm weird and aren't going to fit in your group. You know what I mean? I'm just going to do it a little. Every time a little bit more comfortable showing that side of myself when I first meet people. That's achievable.
Right. And that's that, like, the whole thing that you hate about, you know, the world is that everything is like black or white.
Yes.
You shouldn't, it's too high of an expectation to say, I'm going into this social gathering and I'm going to be the most social I've ever been in my life. And this, I won't even feel weird about it. It's going to be a new me, new party, new me. I'm going to be great at talking to people. No, you're not.
You're not going to be.
It's going to be awful, and you're actually going to feel worse.
Or let's say you pull that off, though. Let's say you pull it off. You're going to tell me you're going to, I know, same. You're going to tell me you're going to leave there feeling good?
No. You go home. I go home and be like, oh, did I say this wrong thing and that wrong thing? And what did this person think?
Yes.
And why?
I ruminate on every conversation and think of all the things I could have said better, or reacted better, or done better. Or go, why did I say that? Why did I tell that story? Yes. But
that's what you're going to do. Little by little. It's just be a little bit better than I was last time.
So this is the one place I'm going to make an adjustment. Right. The question, I mean, I wrote something about this that's going to come out soon, but like when somebody says, what do you do? I'm going to answer that better.
Yes.
And by better, I mean a way that feels better to me.
For you.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Not so that they're like, wow, what a great answer.
But then that translates better because it's authentic to who you are.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, why are we programmed to think? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm going to pose it this way. Mm-hmm. Why are we programmed to think that people who are more easily liked in a crowd are like somehow superior to people who are a little bit more off to the side, or who don't maybe fit in, are not quite as the same or comfortable with sameness? I think people are just performing commonality. I don't actually think they're all the same. Right. But like, why is there like a superiority to that? Because all the people I like best are the weirdos on the outskirts of all of that.
Yeah, because those people make it easier for everyone else. Like,
yeah. I mean, if I go into a group and I do something that's misfitting, it makes everyone have to face their own otherness. Exactly. So that's why people have trouble with people like me, or take a little bit longer to warm up. Or once they figure out, they're like, oh, I heard the podcast. I heard that you can probably tell my deepest, darkest secrets by the order in which I just told you that story. And they're like, maybe I don't want to be your friend. I mean, I kind of get it, to be honest.
Mean, that I get. Yeah. That's scary, but that's about them.
Right.
It's not even about you. That's about them being scared of facing their deepest, darkest secrets.
Yes. And that's the point of all of this, is that's what everyone's doing. Yeah. Everyone's reacting to you, not because you didn't do that perfectly, but because you triggered some shit in them. Right. And the more you are authentic to who you are, the more you trigger everybody else.
Amen.
We should put that on a shirt too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, warning, trigger.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so that's, I give that example because it's just a baby step in trying to be a little more comfortable being uncomfortable in that way. Yep. What could that look like? I'll try this. I'll try it. If when I'm asked that question, I'll answer it like this. And that feels a little bit better. And then adjusting the next time. But like, if you push yourself, same as if it's like a very capitalistic goal, I'm going to sign up 20 new clients by the end of tomorrow.
Yes.
It's sort of like, okay, but like how did you grow there? Because the next time you go to sign up 20 more clients, even if you pulled it off, is going to be harder than it was before. Like it's that little thing. And I think as much as it can feel like a gut punch to know it's a small step process, it's also kind of nice to know that all you need to ask of yourself is a little.
Yes.
Each time, a little. And
that's a great point, because the journey, it feels like too much to like quote unquote fix who you are.
Yes.
Like to just be a different person, fix who I am. Like,
yes.
Poof, I'm a perfect person. But if you frame it like, I just want to be a little bit better and a little bit better.
Just gonna turn the dial a little.
Love that. I love it.
That's it. That's all. Then that feels achievable.
Right.
That's attainable. That's something that you can do. And whatever you're doing, this applies. I don't care if it's, I want more time in my garden.
Yeah.
Or if it's, I want to
be a YouTube star.
Yeah. Or win a Grammy or a Tony or I don't know, whatever. Something big that's hard to do, right? Mm-hmm. Be in the Olympics, whatever. Like, those are really difficult things to do, but all you have to do each time you go to do the thing is turn the dial a tiny bit. Yep. You can do that.
Yep.
Oh my God. And those dial turns, I got to tell you, you make a few of them and the rest of them come easy. You just start, they start like little tiny clicks and then all of a sudden you're like half turning the dial because your brain realizes that you can do this.
Well, and then it also feels like a huge moment because in like the front of your brain, you're thinking, I'm just doing these little clicks, little changes, little steps in the right direction. And then you get to one turn and you look back and you're like, holy shit.
Yes.
Look how much I've changed.
Yes. Because that's everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That like cumulative effect, it's so powerful.
I mean, if you want to look back on the version of yourself that you were 5 years ago and you want to really see how much you've grown, look at what you are comfortable with being just like, where were you comfortable being uncomfortable there?
Yes.
And where are you comfortable being uncomfortable now? And you will, like, you might feel emotional about that, to be honest.
I'm forever saying that to you.
Yes.
Like, I actually hear, I'm like, I'm saying it again. Here I am saying it again to Heather. But like, when I'm like processing something, I'll say 6 months ago, I couldn't have done that. A year ago, that would have been a problem for me.
Yes, because you're looking at the clicks. You're seeing that that's the secret to actually doing anything better is to be a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable and then just dial. That's everything. And I know it's not like a planner I can sell you to meet every goal.
Correct.
But it's how you'll actually do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2 more points and then I'll get us out of here because we can talk about this stuff forever. All right, this one is going to make people squidgy too. But how do you tell people when they ask you about your goal? Like, how does that come out? That is not a place for shame, but it is a minefield of information. It's like so valuable to you.
Truly.
Okay. So if let's just say someone was like, oh, Jamie, I heard you were, I'm going to pick something you're not doing. I heard you were running a marathon.
I am not. Okay. I am not running a marathon.
Like I heard you're planning to run a marathon in 6 months. Like, tell me about that. What you say there tells you more than it tells the other person. I mean, maybe unless they were you and I, but like it's important.
Yes.
What is it that you want someone to know? What is it that you keep to yourself? Do you make a big deal out of it, or do you try to downplay it?
I was gonna say I would probably downplay it.
You'd be like, "Oh, it's just a little marathon.
Like, I'm gonna try to get it done. Like I wouldn't want to build up. Like I'm definitely.
I'm not gonna go fast.
I'm like, I'm gonna try to get it. I want to leave the space to.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. You wouldn't actually tell anyone that you were doing it.
No.
Yeah. Right. But if they found out.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my point though, is like, there's gold in that. So whatever it is, even if no one's asked you and you haven't told anybody, imagine yourself being asked about that goal and imagine the answer you're going to give and see what's there for valuable information.
Yeah.
Okay. We sort of said this before, but I just want to repeat it. Like, have more wins than the end result. That's that same ticking.
Yep.
Like let's say you're trying to get this, big thing off the ground, like have little wins on the way that you can celebrate. Don't only focus on that.
The finish line.
Yes.
Yep.
And then lastly, call in support.
Ugh, yes.
It's hard to change. It's hard to do something different. Life is hard. So when you get to a point where you're like, ooh, I'm really struggling, call in support, ask for help. As 2 people who are the literal worst at asking people for help, we're telling you to do it. And we're telling ourselves to do it. Because the only times I've ever been able to do something that's like pretty significantly different than what I was doing was because I let somebody help me.
Yes.
Ooh. What are you going to say to this? I'm already excited by the way you said yes.
So I agree with you, obviously. And I agree that it's like that's the only time I've ever really, truly been successful is when I've had help doing it. But I feel like this could be one of those points where you get derailed.
Oh.
Because you might look around you and be like, oh, I can't ask anyone for help. I don't have anyone in my life that I can ask for help. So then it's almost like this goal that you're working towards gets put on hold.
Yep.
Because you realize, like, shit, I
don't have the support.
I don't have the support. So how do I now, and that's work that you and I have done over the years, is sort of filtering out people who weren't supportive of us and calling in people who are. And that takes time too.
It does. And I think it's also about what it means to call in support. Mm-hmm. Because my most favorite form of support, same with you, is therapy. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to do something you haven't done before and you're facing shame and you're facing fear, you don't need to call in a village of people who know how to do that exact same thing.
No.
You can. That's great. But like, you need to call in someone that can help you navigate your own mind.
Yes. Or like a therapist or a coach or someone like that.
Okay. So, but again, there's privilege to that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you might not have access.
Right.
You might not be ready.
Yep.
Then what can you do? Can you get a book from the library on the thing you're trying to do? Can you
find a YouTube video about it?
That's what I was going to say. Can you look it up? Like, what can you do? Information is support. Like, what can you do? What are you ready to do? And if you go to do this and you're having that feeling like you have like, shit, I don't have that, then maybe the place you need to work from, and I'm not saying you have to stop your goal, but you need to like put in as a goal. I just got really excited, so I hit the mic when I said that, is to get better at calling in support. Yes. Why are you surrounded by people who aren't supporting you?
Correct. And you don't need 20 people in your life for your support system. You need to find like one person. Yeah. Start with one person that you can be honest with and you trust, and that will hold space for all the stuff you need to process. Yes.
But it's like we said before too, like the universe has better ideas than you. Yes. So you can't think that you and you alone can get there the best way.
Oh, no. Correct.
You can't think that way. Or you can't think that like the only way for me to do this is to push myself to near death. Like that doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Okay. The way to do it is to learn how to call in. And maybe the support is just asking the universe for a sign. That's support. It doesn't have to be, well, I've got 10 great friends that are they're going to make it happen. Or I got that one rich friend that's going to bankroll it for me or whatever. Okay. Like it's got to be, how can I call in support right now? You know, and what do I mean by support?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think the support I need right now is coffee. Because I always need caffeinated support. So I think we should go get some. But I would love to hear from the listeners about what they thought of these 2 episodes. Because I know our version of this is not what most people do. So I would love to hear. And yeah, we'll go from there. Let's go get some coffee.
Thanks, Heather. Hey everyone, Heather and I have an ask for you. If you love this episode or if you love the IGG, can you do us a favor? We need you to go onto whatever platform you listen on and download, subscribe, like, love, whatever it's asking you to do. Can you go do those things for us on the platforms that you listen on? It would mean so much to us.
Thanks for listening to our episode. For a way to get in touch with us, please visit our website, intuitivegirlsguide.com. We love hearing your feedback on our episodes.